Strap in, folks, it's gonna be a long video. Hello everypony! My last big OC video did pretty well, and I was so happy to see how many people were able to use my ideas. So let's make another one that will hopefully get you to flesh out your characters even more. Now, I didn't write these ideas in any specific order, so hopefully it'll spread out the silly questions from the serious ones enough. But without further ado, let's just get into this. Starting out on this list, do they have any allergies? I feel like a lot of people don't think about this question, but I also think it's a good one to think about. What's their favorite smell? It can be something random or basic, but it can also be a smell from their childhood or like a time they were really happy or something like that. Do they like animals? If not, why? You can make their backstory tie into this. Like, if they got bit by a dog or something in their childhood, they might not like animals that much. What YouTubers would they watch? This can help you figure out their sense of humor, or just the type of things they'd be into in general. Do they have a favorite color? And why that color if they do? Maybe their crush has blue eyes, so they say blue, or maybe yellow reminds them of a summer when they were young. Either way, I think this is a cute question. What animal would they be? This can be really fun to think about because you could go really silly with it, or you can think deeply about the symbolism of the animals and decide from that. Where do they see themselves in 10 years? I feel like questions like these specifically help get into their mindset very well because you can tell a lot about how someone feels about their life from this question. Do they have a dream vacation spot? If so, why that place? This can be fun to think about because if you have a fictional world, you might want to create an all-new city or town they dream of visiting. Not only will it flesh out your character, but it'll help flesh out your world. What is their deepest regret? Does that affect them now, or have they accepted it fully and moved on? This question can really open a lot of doors in your storytelling if the regret has affected them a lot. Do they have a favorite music genre? Why that genre? Maybe they like rock because it reminds them of their dad, or maybe they just like pop music because it's fun and catchy. I honestly love this question because it can tell a lot about a character. What is their darkest secret? This can tie into the question about regrets, or it can be entirely separate answers that don't tie into it. Either way, it can be really important to your story as well. What is their love language? They can be into gift giving, physical touch, maybe even words of affirmation. This can greatly influence how they interact in relationships, even outside of romantic partners. How they express love would also change how they act with family members or friends. What is their deepest fear? How does this change how they react to the world? What do they do to avoid their fear? It's a lot to think about, but definitely worth it. Do they have a happy childhood? This can go a lot of different ways, I think. Your childhood plays a big part into who you become and change into, so this question feels very important to me. What would they tell their younger self? If they had a bad childhood, this can be a very emotional moment in your lore to think about. Even if they had a good childhood, this could get serious if they've grown into a villain or just a depressed person in general. Do they like to be alone? They could have an aversion to people maybe, or maybe they feel as if they can't trust people due to past situations, or maybe they just prefer to be alone because they don't like people. Totally valid, by the way, people scare me. Do they believe in soulmates? This is very telling because it can give you insight on their feelings about love too, which I think is an important thing to think about as well. Do they like themselves? If not, why? They could have done something in their past they find inexcusable, or they could have just have low self-esteem or something like that. Self-acceptance and love are great themes for a story. Like, I mean, I'm writing my own lore about my character coming to love herself, so maybe I'm just projecting, but anyways. Who is their biggest inspiration? Inspiration is a huge topic to delve into and think about, so I find this question pretty useful. Are they an introvert or an extrovert? A pretty basic question in all honesty, but an important one, I think. What is the most impressive thing someone can do in their opinion? It can be plot related and a big part of the story, or it can not be addressed at all in your lore. Just a fun thing to think about. Does family matter to them? This could easily tie into the questions about their childhood because they're definitely related questions. This will help flesh out this part of their lore a lot more for sure. How would they describe beauty? Beauty is such a personal thing that everyone has opinions about, even if they don't realize it. Beauty can be visual, or it can just be something you feel inside and experience that way. Beauty is very subjective, and you can tell a lot about a person by how they perceive it. How do they respond to criticism? Do they take it in stride and try to learn from it? Do they get aggressive and closed off? My OC gets offended personally, but she's getting better at accepting it later on in her story, so it can be a cool storytelling tool to think about in that way. Do they care about art? You can think about the different types of art they may care about or may not care about. Like, one of my characters really cares about music, but doesn't really care that much about visual art. The reason is because she consumes a lot of music, but doesn't really resonate with visual art that much because she just doesn't look at it that often. Which is kind of ironic because visual art is something I care a lot about, but anyways. What celebrity would they want to play them in a movie? This can be fun because you can pick an actual actor in the real world or come up with one in your story. I want to do this personally because it just sounds super fun to think about. What is their biggest dream? Their main goal in the story and their biggest dream can definitely be two different things. I feel like it could be a good challenge to think about how you can make those two things different. I think that would be nice, maybe. What is something they only do when they're alone? A bad habit or an embarrassing hobby are fun to add to characters because it can make them feel more human. And most people want their OCs to feel more human, I think, so this question can help with that. Are they really bad at something? What is it? My character is awful at cooking, for example, because no one ever taught her how to cook. This ties into her lore because her parents died before they could teach her how to. You don't really have to have a depressing reason or a reason in general like I did, but I think you should think about this just because it's fun to think about this, you know? Having your character be bad at something definitely helps your character feel less like a Mary Sue, so if you care about that, that might be helpful. What song would be their theme song? Like if they had a cartoon opening of their life, what song would be in the background? It can really help set the tone of your story or OC lore. Would they have social media? For example, my OC Leto would for sure have TikTok or Instagram, but would only use it to look at cat memes. It's a silly question, but a fun one. Do they believe in an afterlife? This can affect how people treat people in the life they're currently living. Like if they believe in reincarnation, they're probably going to be a lot nicer to people because that determines what you come back as. What is their favorite TV show? It can be a fictional show or one from real life. I personally want to make a show from my OC's universe just because it sounds fun, to be honest. The shows people watch can give a lot of insight on what your character likes, and I think that's helpful. What do they want to be known most for? A hero could want to be remembered as a good person, while a villain might just want to be feared when they're remembered. Or they could be a totally normal person and just want to be remembered as being kind. That's an option too. Do they have a favorite hobby? Hobbies can shape who you are and how you interact with certain things. My OC loves gardening, so she tends to appreciate plants a lot more than the average person, for example. What fictional character do they relate to the most? You can really think hard about this and make some connections to your OC and characters you didn't think of before. What is their favorite food? This is a silly and simple one, but I like it because, like, do they have a sweet tooth? Or maybe they like really spicy foods? Not everything has to have a reason behind it. Some questions are just silly, like I said, but honestly, you could come up with some reasons why they like what they like too. Have they ever been to a concert? If so, who did they go see? From the other questions so far, you might see where I'm going with this, but you could make up a band for them if you wanted to. Could be fun, you know, I don't know, just a thought. I'm gonna do it, and I think it's fun, so I think you should probably do it, but you don't have to, I'm not, just saying. Do they have a favorite childhood memory? This ties into the other questions about their past pretty well, I think. Like, if they had a bad childhood, this question could be really telling. Who are they dressing up as for Halloween? Another silly one, I know, but I don't want every question in this video to be super deep, you know? But yeah, they could go as a character they like maybe. And would they put a lot of effort into the outfit or show up in like a punny t-shirt? My OC guy would definitely just wear his fun guy t-shirt. What is a quote they care deeply about? Looking for a quote that really resonates with your OC is pretty cool, I think, because you get to choose what type of quote it'll be. Like, it could be from a song, game, movie, basically anything you want, and having a lot of options is pretty fun, I think. Do they have any toxic traits? Characters without depth and traits that aren't the best are kind of shallow in my opinion. So adding negative quirks to your OCs can help with making your characters a lot more complex. I'm not judging if your characters don't have any flaws or toxic traits because sometimes you just want to make a Mary Sue and that's totally valid. But I think characters with depth are usually better than characters without depth in my experience. Do they have a good or bad relationship with their parents? Again, connecting this question with other questions about their past will really get into the character's head and mindset. Do they have any powers? If not, what powers would they have? Powers can be really symbolic and represent personality traits very well. Like, think of Violet from The Incredibles. Her power is to become invisible and to make shields around herself. This connects to her personality because she's shy and reserved. So think about that when giving your OCs powers. Or don't, I'm not your father. What is their biggest pet peeve? A pet peeve is something that someone finds annoying. So basically, what annoys them that other people do? What 3 items would they bring to a deserted island with them? Bringing something rational and useful might be something an older or mature character does, while other more childish characters might bring candy or a book. Do they have a crush? Are they fictional or a real person in your lore? I have 2 characters that have platonic crushes on each other, and I love it so much. So adding something like this to your story is very fun, I think. What is their favorite video game? Do they even play video games? Even if they come from a world set in the past or in a world where video games don't exist, I think it's fun to think about what they'd enjoy anyways. Do they have a favorite season and why? Could it be because they dress in dark clothes so they prefer the winter or autumn? Maybe they have fond memories of a certain spring that happened in the past. There's a lot of reasons you can choose. What is their favorite drink? This is really just a silly question, no other reason for it, I just thought it'd be silly. Woof! We are halfway in, folks, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and liked it up until this point, I'd really appreciate it if you take a minute to like and subscribe, maybe comment if you have something to say. Thanks, bestie. Anyways, let's keep going. Would they rather go to a party or stay in? Being an introvert or extrovert is definitely related to this one, but you can also come up with interesting reasons why they might actually like parties even if they are an introvert. What would their perfect day be like? Spending time with friends or family, doing their hobbies, traveling to somewhere they've always wanted to go for a day. My OCs would just want to spend time together doing something because they're cute like that. Do they use lists or schedules? If they have bad time awareness or are kind of a control freak about their time, they could rely on them to help. What is their favorite thing about themselves? People often like parts of themselves they think are impressive or pretty, but if you want to make a character a little bit weird, you could make their favorite thing they like a negative thing in other people's eyes. It would definitely help make an OC feel more human for sure. What is the best dream they've ever had? This is another one that can go more serious or more silly. Like, my OC Guy's best dream was probably about him chilling on a cloud or something because he's a pretty carefree guy, while my OC Leto would probably say one about her childhood memories that she has dreams about just because she misses her parents. you know? But it doesn't have to be sad if you don't want it to be. What are 3 words they would use to describe themselves? How someone answers this can really tell you a lot about their personality, like if they're confident or not, so I feel like it's a useful question. Do they like scary movies? If they do, what subgenre would they like the most? If a character is desensitized to gore, they might like slashers. And if they hate gore, they probably like ones that are more like psychological horror. So that can tell you a lot about like someone's past as well. Like if they're desensitized to gore, why is that? You know? Like you can really delve into this question even if it's like such a simple, silly one. And I feel like the questions I added on this list, you can go serious or silly with it. So I hope you guys feel that way too. If their life were a movie, what scene would they rewatch over and over again? A cop, for example, might rewatch the case they witnessed but could never solve, or a character might rewatch a happy memory to help cheer themselves up. There are a lot of ways to answer this question. What song would they sing if they had to choose one to sing in front of a crowd? If a character can't sing very well, they could choose a song that's like more comedic to sing. That's just an example, but a good example, I feel like. What is their favorite way to spend their birthday? You can also add what they'd have on their wish list for their birthday if you wanted to. Both are cute questions, I think. What age do they mentally feel like? They could be mentally stunted from trauma or something like that, or they could feel mature and still be immature, or they could feel immature and actually be mature. So many options to explore, honestly. Where is their happy place? When they're sad or depressed, where do they wish they were? That can be like a physical place or a situation they've experienced that calms them down. What is a secret talent of theirs? Coming up with one that's unexpected could be fun and help add layers to your OC if you wanted to do that. Just a suggestion, you can also make it silly and random if you wanted to. Do they collect anything? My OC Leto collects flower seed packets to add to her journals where she writes about the different types of flowers. This ties into her hobby, and this question helped me add a cute detail to her lore by thinking about it. What would they want their last meal to be? You might just want it to be their favorite food from the past question that I asked, or you could have it be something they wanted to try but never got to. Do they have any irrational fears? I think not every character needs to have an irrational fear, but adding one to an OC might be fun for comedy. Making a serious one is also possible, like for story reasons, and could also be cool, but I feel like a comedic one might be fun. Who do they love the most? Villains who only love themselves are good for narrative reasons, but making sympathetic villains who love their family are also a good choice if your story is more complex. And I don't mean better when I say complex. Stories with one-note villains are valid, and sometimes I prefer them, so please don't misunderstand. Do they have any guilty pleasures? Embarrassing hobbies could count technically, I guess, but I feel that they're different enough to warrant thinking about, I think, personally. Do they have a prized possession? My OC Leto has a deep emotional tie to a magnifying glass her mother had when she was alive, for example, or it could be as simple as a Polaroid picture of them with their friends. This question definitely gives insight into what they value, I think. What are they angry about? Anger, how your OCs experience anger, and what causes that anger are all important things to think about. Developing this part of their personality and delving into their thought processes is also just super fun in my experience. So yeah, do they believe in ghosts? Silly question, I know, but I thought we could use one right about now. But moving on to another important one, do they have a job? Whoa, maybe they don't even have one. If that's the case, how do they make their money? Or money doesn't exist in your world? I don't know. Are friends more important to them than family? A question like this relates back to quite a few ones in the past that we've talked about, and I feel like it expands that part of their lore even more, because like my OC Leto would have used to say she cares more about family when her parents were alive, but now after her parents are dead and she meets Guy and spends time with him, she cares more about her friend Guy. So it can be a really cool storytelling tool as well, I think. What makes them sad most of the time? That sounds a little confusing, hold on. Like, when they get sad, what is the reason that causes it most of the time? I think it's obvious what my character gets sad over for most of the time, like the whole dead parents thing, you know, it's pretty obvious, but but for other characters, it might not be as obvious. Do they care about being kind? Kindness is definitely taught in most circumstances, but can also be there despite horrible evilness they might have been subjective to. So this can be a very telling question because of that. How do they show they care about someone? Twisted characters might show they care about someone by doing something weird or evil because it's the only way they know how to express that. Or maybe they're nice and give hugs. I don't know, man, it's your character. What are they missing from their lives? You can go a few different ways with this, honestly. Like, are they missing something they need or something they want? Or you could answer both questions because both questions are equally interesting to think about. They could also just be missing the goal they're working towards if you don't want to think about this, by the way. Like, that's also an option. How can someone earn their trust? Trust is usually earned when OCs are reserved or mature, but can also be given freely if the OC is more on the naive or immature side, you know? So this question can definitely help answer more of how mature your character is for sure. Where did they grow up? They could have lived somewhere their entire life, which could have made them more like conservative in thinking, or maybe that can be an interesting way that you twist the narrative, like they're from a small town where everyone thinks the same and they're the one person that thinks differently. That's also an option that could be interesting if you want to explore that. Either way, it can be helpful to expand and show indications of different things from OC's childhoods, I think. What is their most embarrassing memory? My most embarrassing memory is falling down the bleacher stairs in my gym during a pep rally. But your OC might have like spilled wine on a queen and is gonna be beheaded or something. I don't know. My embarrassing memories are just kind of funny to look back onto, but the memories you make for them can be super serious if you want them to be. Do they play an instrument? If not, which one would they want to play? There are stereotypes you can look at and use when picking out which ones they play or would want to play. If you look those up, it can also be fun playing with expectations and choosing one that doesn't suit your character at all, just for fun. I think that's super fun. What does their family tree look like? Do they have siblings, aunts, etc.? Building the cast from your OC's lore, as the people you surround yourself with, can say a lot about who you are as a person. Do they have a best friend? Like I said, the people you surround yourself with can say a lot about you, so adding on this question is also important, I think. What is their star sign? Star signs in astrology don't really matter in real life, in my opinion at least, but looking at all the stereotypes about star signs can be really fun. Like, making a messy Virgo like me could be fun, or you could play into the stereotypes to make like a neat freak controlling Virgo OC. Either way, I think it's pretty fun to just choose a star sign that is based on the stereotypes that actually fit your character. Do they believe in aliens? Do aliens exist in their lore? It could matter to your lore or just be a fun fact. Either way, it's a silly one to add. Are they an optimist or a pessimist? Being an optimist doesn't necessarily mean you're a good person or anything, and being a pessimist doesn't mean you're depressed. I think people tend to think that way for some reason, but people are complex and there are countless combinations and options to go for, but they can also be simple if you want to. Again, there's nothing wrong with simple. Do they have a bucket list? If yes, what's on it? Making the list full of things they want to do after their main goal is a good option, I think, but also putting the main goal on the list and adding things alongside it for them to complete during the story is a good option too. I think that's very helpful. What is the reason they give when people ask why they stay alive? Is the reason they give the real reason? There can be a lot of reasons they could be lying if you really want to go down that route if you think about it, but that's up to you. If they could time travel, where would they go? My OC Leto would travel to before her parents died to save them, but if she couldn't interfere with the past, she'd just go back to her favorite memory, and I feel like a lot of characters would choose to do that too. So it could tie back into what their favorite memory is, but it doesn't have to at the same time. If they could do one thing without dying or getting in trouble, what would they do? So my OC guy buries himself underground sometimes for a pick-me-up because like he's a mushroom person and that works that way. And my OC Leto has always wanted to try that too, but she's a human, so she can't really do that without drowning in dirt. So she'd choose to do that, for example. Can they write in cursive? If they have their own language, you could consider making a cursive-like variant to it if you wanted to. Could be cool, I don't know. It's a possibility. What would they change about themselves if they had to change one thing? This relates to their insecurities for sure, and probably their past experiences. Do they want a relationship? My OC Leto is asexual, but she is in a queer platonic relationship with my OC guy. So this question can be complex and complicated if you want it to be, or simple if you don't want to have to explain yourself every time you mention this answer, which maybe y'all are expecting me to explain what a queer platonic relationship is, but Google exists, so, you know, anyways. Do they think they're a good person? They can think they are one even if they're not, which is a super fun concept to go for, by the way. I personally plan on making a character who's insane and evil, who fully believes they're a superhero one day, because it's just fun to play with expectations, I think. What do they do when they disagree with someone? How an OC deals with conflict is an integral aspect of their personality. And if your story has literally no conflict in it at all, there's ways to do that in like slice of life stories, but if you're wanting to make it more of a storyline with an end and stuff and progression, you're gonna have to think about this question eventually. So why not do it now? What would they do if they won the lottery? And if money doesn't exist in your OC world, what would happen if they suddenly got a lot of important resources? Would they hoard their wealth, share with others, maybe fund their town to grow? Thinking of the reason for why they might do what they do in this is very telling about someone's morals as well. Who do they hate the most? Is it themselves? They could dislike themselves for sure, but hating and disliking are two different things, so think about that when you're deciding to answer this question. If they died, what would they come back as? A person? An animal? Different animals represent different traits and can have a lot of symbolism behind them as well. It can also be determined by how they treated others in their past life if you want to go that route. What is their favorite holiday? I mean, it can be a real one for sure, but doesn't making one sound fun too? You don't have to, but I think it'd be good to think about doing before dismissing the idea at least. Like, don't dismiss it without thinking about it. At least just think about it for like a second. Just consider it. Just think about it. And last but not least, what type of flower would they be? I really wanted to end this list with a question that's just for fun and like not serious at all. So yeah, flowers have a lot of like symbolism behind them, which I personally think is fun to include, but you really don't have to if you don't want to. But yeah. Thank you all so much for watching this far. I cannot believe you made it this far. It's been such a long video. But thank you. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Your support means absolutely everything to me, and I really appreciate it. This video was a beast to make, like almost made me go insane, but I'm so proud of this list, I think, and I really hope it helps you. I'll see you all next time. I love you all.